In this lesson, you'll learn how to render absolutely stunning gems in Pave. It's really gratifying to render gems in Illustrator because it's so easy and the effect is professional. You'll love it. Before rendering, there is some prep work to do. We'll be using actual photos of stones, and the first thing to do is to create 2 different folders on your computer with photos of gems. One with high-resolution images, for stones we'll render in large dimensions, and a folder of low-resolution images, of stones we'll render in small sizes. Illustrator files are really sensitive to the images you add, and will work more slowly if the file becomes heavy, with too many large photos. Another important thing to think about is to keep your folder with the stones in the same folder as your Illustrator file. If you import an image into Illustrator and then cancel or move it, it will disappear from your Illustrator file. So make sure that the photos that you want to use will remain in the same place. We'll start by rendering some large gems. We head up to File and select Place. We're already in the folder with our large gems, so we select the red ruby and click Place. The ruby appeared on our page, and we just click on the artboard where we want it to be. Now we set our fill color to empty and leave the stroke at a black 0.25 points. Then we select the ellipse tool. Click and drag it around our ruby and tweak the dimension by pulling the bounding box until it's perfectly outlining the stone. Now we select the outline and the ruby, right-click with the mouse and select Make Clipping Mask. This way, we've copied the ruby and pasted it inside the circle. To make it look more three-dimensional, we're going to add a reflection on top. So we select the ellipse tool and draw a circle close to the center of the ruby. We then fill it with white color without an outline. Then we move over to transparency and move the blue dot to 41%. If you can't find it in your workspace, you'll make it appear by going to the Window menu and clicking on Transparency. To center the stone in the highlight, we head over to Align and click on the buttons to move the shapes to the center. Then we group the shapes and add a drop shadow, setting the opacity to 75% and leaving the other settings as they are. To finish our ruby rendering, we'll add a star-shaped light reflection. We'll do it with the star tool, which you'll find at the same button as the ellipse tool. Then we move over to our artboard and click once with the mouse to place it. In the window that appears, we set the first radius to 0.5, the second to 12, and the points to 4, and click OK. It's too big, so we scale it down with the selection tool and place it on top of the ruby. With the rotation tool, we'll turn it a bit. And our ruby rendering is ready. With this same technique, you can easily render any faceted stone type and color. The next stone will render as a cabochon, so we return to File, click on Place, and select the pink tourmaline cabochon. Then we click on the page with the mouse to place it. It's big, so we scale it down a bit. We want to render an oval that's more narrow, so we select the ellipse tool, click on the tourmaline, and drag the oval to a narrow shape. And then select both shapes. Right-click with our mouse and select Make Clipping Mask. Now the tourmaline is copied inside our oval. The light and reflection in this image is already perfect, so we just add a drop shadow. And voila, our tourmaline is done. Now let's see how easy and fast it is to copy the oval and turn it into a round cabochon. The third stone that we're going to render will be flat with rounded, smooth edges. First, we place a malachite on the artboard. Then we select the rounded rectangle tool and place and drag it over the stone. We'll fine-tune the corners by dragging one of the little blue circles towards the center. Then we select both shapes with the selection tool, right-click with the mouse and select Make Clipping Mask. To give the impression of the edges being soft, we'll add a nice shadow and highlight. So we copy and drag the shape. To remove the photo, we right-click with the mouse and select Release Clipping Mask. The malachite is now separated from the rounded square, and we select it and delete it. Then we select our square and give it a black stroke color, so it's easy to see when we're working on it. Before we make the highlight, we first make another copy that we'll use later for the shadow. Then we make another copy placed on top of the first square, and click on the minus font button in the Pathfinder. Now we give it a white color. Removing the outline, place it on top of our shape, and drag it into place. Then we head over to the right and the transparency area and set it to 53%. Then we make our shadow shape and give it a black fill color. And set the transparency to 31%. By adding the transparency, the motif shows under our shadow and highlight and make the look more natural. To finish, we group the shapes and add a drop shadow. You can easily render wood and most other alternative materials by tweaking photos like this. Now we're going to place a white pearl. It's a bit big for our page, so we scale it down a bit. Then we select the ellipse tool, click at the top of the pearl, and drag the circle around it. Like you can see, the fill color is black, but it doesn't matter. Then we select the photo and the circle, right-click with the mouse, and select Make Clipping Mask. To finish our rendering, we'll add a drop shadow. Because our pearl is light in color, we'll make our drop shadow lighter too, so we set it at 55%. Now we'll explore how to render small gems. These are great to use when illustrating accent stones or multiple gems for lines or pave, when the resolution doesn't need to be high. We'll start by placing a white diamond, and just like we did for the larger gems, we'll draw an outline around it. Select both shapes, right-click with the mouse, and select Make Clipping Mask. To define our diamond a bit more, we'll add a very fine black outline. We're going to create a fine gold band with a line of white diamond pave. So we copy and drag our yellow gold ring to the new artboard and drop it next to the diamond. The diamond looks a bit flat, so we'll add some three-dimensionality to it with a transparent white plane on top. Then we group the shapes and scale the diamond down. Now we're going to add a line on each side of the stones. So we pick the line segment tool, place it at the end, and drag the line over to the other side while pressing the Shift key to make sure that it's drawn straight. Then we give it a black 0.25 point stroke. Then we copy and drag the line over to the other side. And place the diamond in between. To render the prongs that will be holding the stones, we'll use gold balls. So we select the ellipse tool and make a little circle on the page that we'll fill with a shiny yellow gold ball swatch, and give it a black 0.1 point stroke. It's a bit small, so we scale it up a bit. And then we copy and drag one while pressing the Option key if you're using Mac or the Alt key for Windows. Then we select both balls and copy and drag them over to the other side. To make sure that our stone is in the center of the ring, we group the diamond and the 4 prongs. Then we select the stone and the ring and align them in the center of the page. Now we copy and drag the diamond to the right. As we go closer to the outside edge, we make the stone slimmer to give the impression of perspective. The last stone looks a bit unrealistic, so we remove the 2 prongs at the end by double-clicking on the stone in the prong group, and then we click to select the 2 prongs and delete them. Then we make the diamond a bit smaller to give the impression that it's disappearing to the side as the ring turns. Now we select all of the stone groups except for the diamond in the center and make a group. Then we pick the reflection tool, and in the window that appears, we leave the axis to vertical and click copy. Then we drag the copy over to the other side. To define our row of diamonds even more, we'll increase the stroke to 0.5 points. As a final touch, we move over to our ruby and copy and drag the white star to our ring and place it on top. With the rotation tool, we turn it around a bit to make the effect a bit more dramatic. And now we have a beautiful yellow gold ring with diamond pave. In our last exercise, we're going to render a ring with a single diamond. So we start by making a copy of the ring. Remove the star, all diamonds but the one in the center, and the horizontal lines. Then we drag the diamond over the ring, ungroup it, and delete the prongs. Because it's a single stone and we want it to pop, we double click on it and then set the stroke to 0.5 points. Then we place the diamond on top of our ring. To define the setting, we add a white highlight and a brown shadow shape. As a last step, we copy the white star and drop it on top of the diamond, turning it a bit with the rotation tool. And we're done!